Hey, welcome to another episode of This Is Not a Green Room, the official podcast of the New York Comedy Club. I, as always, am Nick Angelo, joined by the boss, Emilio Savone.
Heyo.
Amy and Rachel are on assignment.
Thank God.
And today is a little bit different. We got the champ is here.
That's right.
The champ is here. Nick Baez in the building. New York Nick Baez. What's up, Nick?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me. This is like a dream come true.
Well, you're not dreaming high enough, buddy.
Nick is a professional boxer who has ties with us from way back in the day. But yeah, it's a little different. We got a professional athlete on the podcast, but Nick's got a lot of comedy background, a lot of tie-ins. You want to let the listeners know how the hell you even know us and what's going on?
Yeah. About 11 years ago, I left my mother's house and I was looking for a job. And I was on the streets of Times Square. And it was a cold. I think it was Christmas time. It was around winter. I was looking for a job, and I went up to this one guy. I don't know if I can use names, so I don't want to use any names because I don't know how far this goes.
Was it Cruz?
No, it wasn't Cruz. He worked for a different company.
Okay.
He worked for a different crew, so I don't want to say his name. But anyway, I go and I say, "Oh, I'm looking for a job," because I see these guys selling tickets and stuff. And I just need a job quick. How do you get this job? You know, I asked him. He says, "Come back another time, and then come see me on this day." I said, "Okay, cool." So I leave. I did it the next day. I come back, and I'm going to talk to him, and somebody stops me. Luke.
Oh, geez, Luke.
Remember Luke?
Wow, yeah, of course.
Luke stops me and goes, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" And I was like, "Yeah. You know, I was going to talk to this guy. He told me, you know, this is the thing or whatever." And Luke tells me, "No, come with these guys. Come with these guys. These guys, this is Empire. These guys are more, these guys are legit." He said, "Don't go over there. Those guys are gonna scam you. These guys are legit." I didn't know he could have been scamming me. I didn't know any better. I said, "All right, well, you know." And I think that's how I got into it. Was Luke? I always say Luke was the way he stopped me. I was going like the dark side. And Luke stopped me, and then that was it. And then comic strip. That's where we started. I was at the comic strip. And you guys taught me everything I know about sales and
Which led you to a boxing career.
Which led me into a boxing career, yeah.
Nick, how long did you promote with us for? Because it feels like you've been with us. It feels like we like to talk about, we call like the old school people that used to work with us, like the OGs, right? Like Rachel Curbs. I don't know if you remember Rachel. Rachel she was awesome. Her and Christina were like the tandem.
Okay.
They were like the two girls that worked with us like for years, because it was always kind of like a revolving door. But you're like one of those guys that we think of as like, oh, Nick's one of the OGs. He's one of the old school Empire guys that really kind of helped us create that family sort of atmosphere that we had. And it feels like you worked with us forever. But how long did you really work with us for?
I really didn't. When you look at the numbers, I only worked.
Was it at least a year?
I think a year. It had to be at least.
Couldn't have been more than a year, because you were there when we had Patrick still, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
Wow, you are really.
Yeah.
Did you even know Patrick?
No.
Patrick was the third partner.
Yeah, I heard about that
Patrick
story.
was the third partner. Patrick, one of my favorite people of all time. He was a third partner, but that and at the time I remember when what had to be done and everything business moves were made and everything, and it was and I just mentioned in Patrick, it was fun. I wanted to point out too the sacrifices these guys made, Emilio and Scott, the stuff that I've seen you guys from the distance, and that's to keep it to the boxing. I was just telling Scott, that's one of the reasons I keep boxing. I kept boxing, at least to get to this point where I get to turn professional. Because I see you guys, I've watched you guys, Emilio, Scott, I've watched you guys build from the ground up. And so when people tell me, "Oh, I can't, you can't do that." I mean, these guys now, they went from selling tickets in the street, I mean, like anybody else, to owning 2 comedy clubs in 2 prime spots in New York City called New York Comedy Club. I mean, and then I don't know what you get, like El Chapo now. You got the spots here, spots there. I don't know what the hell, but to watch you guys do it is one of the reasons that I kept boxing, to keep it towards the boxing and stuff. And it's just cool. I don't think people realize that, how much work you and Scott the sacrifices, not just the obviously the time and stuff.
This is such a good compliment. He's not even trying to get stage time.
I know.
No,
This is why we love Nick. Well, look, we listen. I appreciate it, and I really do, and I know Scott does too. And you know, look, we were in a very unique position, Scott and I, because none of us thought, hey, we're gonna go into owning a comedy club or comedy clubs or even do anything comedy related. You know, Scott was a musician and he still is. You know, he runs a studio and he's just releasing an album. He's doing a whole documentary on his stuff. You know, Scott's a super creative guy. I got into it because I thought I wanted to be an actor, and our whole approach was, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are unsure of what they really want to do with their lives and just need a pit stop just to do something that, sure, selling comedy tickets isn't like, you know, it wasn't about the comedy tickets. It was more like, let's create an atmosphere here for people who are kind of lost, trying to figure it out, or they're college kids, or they're musicians or actors, or kind of like us who need a way to make money, and let's make it fun for them. Let's also make it ambitious for them. Let's make this about making money. Let's make this about let's try to run this like a real company, but also not like a real company, if that makes sense.
Well, commission based only. That was tough too.
But what's really cool now that it's been a long time, I mean, it's been 15, 16 years since Scott and I have been doing this together, at least. You know, we've been to countless number of weddings. We've seen people have kids, you know. Andrew and Christina used to sell tickets for us.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing all these really great things. And, you know, so people have, you know, and it's like a little joke that Scott and I have, and I said it earlier, where all these people have moved on. Scott and I haven't. and Nick even left and he came back. But to Nick's point, we get you back. But so my thing is, you know, you're like one of the testaments to why we are so proud of the street team, you know, because you are saying, hey, I've learned things from this job that most people would probably fucking hate to do. And you saw the amount of turnover we had, but you're like, I still think of those days. I try to apply it to what I'm doing now. And what you're doing now, Nick, is so different than everybody else. So I'm always interested when I run into someone like who's one of our OGs. To see, like Luke. I have no idea what Luke's doing, but I'd love to know, like, I'm always interested in what they're doing now and how they got there. So you sold tickets for us. You were a young guy. You were 19, 20 years old. I still think it was more than a year, dude, because I remember...
It had to be.
Because I remember you crashing I remember you were crashing at my my apartment one time.
Yes. Yeah. It had to be more than...
And I didn't have that apartment for like years after Patrick. So... It was probably a good year after. So you must have been with us for maybe about 2 years at least.
Yeah, maybe. But and pit stops. I've made pit stops along the way, also over the past 10 years. I had the first run, then I came back in the second run.
Yes, I remember that.
That was where it was more just promotion and no sales.
Yeah. You were doing the flyering brand ambassador. So you leave. I mean, how do you get to boxing? Is my question.
All right. Well, I was boxing the whole time. I've been boxing since I was 14.
Did you know this?
When I first met Nick, me and him never sold tickets together, but we did the promoting. And I first met Nick, and he was a boxer. That's how I met him, and because I've always loved the sport, and that's what I immediately gravitated towards him. I was like, oh, cool, let me pick your brain. That's awesome. I love boxing. So then we obviously became friends, and I don't know. You tell us. I mean, how did that mean? You were like off and on, like you it was like a hobby at first, and then you got real serious, right?
That's the major. That's one of the reasons why, like, I want to be here. One of the messages I try to tell too, especially the comedians. I was listening to the show, the young comedians, all that stuff. People viewed it as a hobby. I didn't. The whole time I thought I was I was dreaming, but I kept putting in the work. I mean, I had my Golden Glove experiences. I had a couple fights. I had a bunch of exhibitions from when I was 16 on. But I never told people. I never liked to tell people that I boxed, because I found out young that every group of guys has a tough guy in the group. Every group of guys is gonna have one guy who wants to test you. You know, so it's like I kept it hush hush for a long time, and then throughout, Patrick knew I boxed. I told him when I was leaving, because that's one of the reasons I left to go to Albany. Now, when I went to Albany, I was going to promote comedy. That's another thing. That was my goal. I was like, you know what? These guys did it here, and I can just apply what I've learned here in Albany. And that's where I was moving. So I talked to Ted Alexandro.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Ted Alexandro is the one that taught me that comedians are very diva-like, and in terms of what they need to perform. You need to see the subtleties. You have to have the right lighting, the right speakers, the right this, the right that. So that's what he taught me. Jay Okerson, I had his number at one point because I told him I was going to go up to Albany and he wanted to be pushed in the college market. Jeff Ross, another one who 11 years ago, he was sitting at Comic Strip telling me that he can't break into the college market. And I said, well, yeah, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to do that.
I remember, it's funny, Nick. I think that was during the 50-year anniversary. I think that was during the 50-hour show. Because I remember Ross was asking me if we had access to Atlantic City.
It had to have been around then.
The irony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The irony of all that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, and so I'm sorry, and with the boxing, and I had been doing it up to then, and when I got to Albany, I wasn't boxing. I didn't even have a fight yet, because that's a whole nother thing. But I got to Albany, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I want to promote these tickets. I didn't end up doing for comedy clubs. I couldn't find comedy clubs, so me and my buddy started promoting for a bar. I took all this stuff from you guys. I was like, hey, we could just.
I didn't know any of
this.
this.
Yeah, no.
You owe us a fucking piece.
I know you guys. Yeah, if I made anything, that's the other half of the story. So we started promoting for this bar, and that worked out pretty well for like a little bit. And
so what'd you do? Oh wait, so you went to a bar like, hey, we'd love to promote you guys.
Yeah.
Do you remember like what was the setup?
How was the set? We walked to the bar. First I showed the guys. I said, watch, I can get any of these girls on the campus to go to a party. No, you can't. I said, hey, you can't. It's like stopping somebody in Times Square. No, it's not different. So it's a really nice looking girl, real hot girl. She's walking up, and I said, watch, I'm gonna get her. And I showed the guys. I walked up, hey, I think actually, do you want to go to a party or something? Almost like comedy club. Do you want to go to a party or whatever? She didn't answer at first because you always get ignored on your first shot. Then you ask again, and she stopped, and we talked. I knew from you guys that I just had to get her to stop. I got her to stop. I talked to her. These guys thought I was a hero, because I got her number. I got her invited to the party, and then from there, that's how the promoting started for a bit. And we tried it, but it's harder than it looks.
Yeah, it's hard.
keeping tabs, all that stuff. It was much harder than it seemed. And then I couldn't find a boxing gym, but then there was a boxing gym run by the state right down the street from me. And that was one of those first times. I've always followed the signs with boxing. I've always followed the signs. I've always said, like, for example, this thing is right down the street. Up until that point, I kept having to travel. It's right down the street from me now. Either I could take advantage of that for free, because it's run by the state. It's a great program they have up there in Albany. Either I could take advantage of that, or I could keep, not doing anything. So I did that, had my first fight, but I was trying to live two lives. I was trying to live a boxer's life, and I was trying to just live a normal life. With having a good time, girlfriend.
Who are you living with up in Albany, Nick?
In Albany, I was living with my buddy TJ, and then I started living with my ex-girlfriend. She moved in with me, and we lived together, and that's how I ended up in Rockland. I ended up leaving Albany with her to move to Rockland, and so I kept following the boxing. There was no boxing around. Again. I was lost. I was like, oh God, here we go. That's when I came back. That's when I came, because I needed a job again. I was like, oh man, I got nothing, And then that's when I recontacted again, and I was late for every every time.
Well, it's nice to know that things don't change. As right now, it's the sun is on its way
Why
down.
are you always late, Nick?
I don't
What's
know.
going on?
You know what it is?
Did you
And
just
then-
get lost, or do you not know where you're going?
No,
You're New
I know
York
where
Nick
I'm going.
Baez.
I gotta realize. Yeah, right.
Too many jabs to the face.
Yeah, I
The
gotta
merchandise looks great, by the way, for being a boxer for so many years.
I know. That's one of the things.
He's got a promo background.
Yeah.
What's it like getting fucking hit plush in the face?
That's a great question.
And I want
Yeah,
after you
yeah.
answer that, I want to know what it's like to hit
Landing a
someone.
plush.
Like,
All right.
do you ever think to yourself, "Oh my God, I just really hurt this fucking dude," or you got to have that killer mentality and you're trying? You know what I mean?
When I was younger, up until recently turning pro, it was it was all emotion for me. It was killer mentality. I kept thinking, killer be killed, killer be killed. Getting punched in the face is it depends. If you see it coming, you don't really feel it that much. If you don't see it coming, it's just a shock to your system. Oh shit! You kind of, it depends how you get punched. I'd rather get punched in the face than get punched to the body.
Interesting.
Yeah, getting punched to the body is the worst thing, and it's like I've gotten grazed on the body before, and I had to finish the round. Like,
Oh my
because
God.
people forget you can't breathe. If you catch somebody, the great boxers, they could catch somebody.
Oh.
If you catch somebody on the breath in into the body.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
is that a technique that you have where you're almost trying to feel their breath and?
yeah. When you're in the ring, there's a lot of things going on that the outside person might not be able to see. Same thing with a comedian. You know how comedians watch other comedians?
Yeah.
And everybody sees you see the technical stuff that they're doing, or they're bringing back the jokes, or they're doing that. You see all the technical stuff that they're doing that the layman person, the guy watching, doesn't see. That's the same thing with boxing. When you see those guys feeling each other out, a lot of times they're trying to see how the other guy reacts to everything. Landing a good punch, it's like playing baseball and you hit off the sweet part of the bat.
Yeah.
You can't feel anything. It's just like you just know it's going somewhere. Yeah, it's the same thing when you land a good shot. It's like you don't feel it. It just goes through everything. It's a very nice feeling. It's a very nice feeling. The worst is when you land a good shot and their face doesn't change, and they have no reaction to it. When you land your best shot on somebody and they don't even budge, that's where it comes. That's where the mental part of boxing comes in. Now what? Do you go on the attack mode all of a sudden? He's not. Oh, fuck this guy. Because in his head, meanwhile, this guy could be dying inside. He could feel like, fuck, don't hit me again.
You just delivered your opening joke that kills every night, and the crowd's looking at you with their mouth open, like, okay, what's next?
Exactly. How do you react? How do you respond? Do you fold right there? Which is something I had to learn to stop doing. I didn't fold. I reacted. I attacked with emotion, trying to prove something. And when you're trying to prove something, it's because you don't believe something. You're trying to get people to believe you.
You hit them like, oh, that didn't hurt you? Okay, here you go, motherfucker. Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm getting hit 3, 4, 5 times. What the hell's going on? Because boxing, it will reveal that you can never be too emotional in boxing. You can't get too high. You can't get too low. You have to keep a level ground. You're gonna get punched in the face, like Tyson, the famous saying, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
The great ones keep that game plan going. The great ones get punched in the face and they just keep moving. There's nothing to them. It's like missing a note. It's like when a great musician misses a note and he knows it, but he just keeps going. The crowd has no idea. Again, a comedian misses a word in the joke, or even fucks up the punchline. He says it wrong, doesn't say it with the right inflection. What the hell? The audience has no idea if he keeps moving. If he stops, then the audience is, same thing in boxing. It's all mental. A lot of it is mental.
So you come back to New York, and you start, you need a job. You start working with us again, and then what? You never stop boxing though. Now you're back in New York. You're like, great. There's gyms everywhere. I can really just thrust myself back into it.
Yeah, no, I never stopped boxing the whole time. I kept boxing, but I was also I was partying. And I was drinking and I was smoking like if I was a world champ. I was just like, you can't do that. I wasn't working on my craft when I got back. I thought I'd be working on boxing more. I wasn't working on my craft the way I was supposed to. I was telling people I'm a boxer because I was sparring. I was going to the gyms, and the guys that I was sparring were moving on to greater and bigger things. So I'm telling myself, I must be good, because these guys are going somewhere and I'm competing with them. Let me go drink and smoke some more. You know what I mean?
That's like telling everyone that you're a comedian because you go to an open mic.
Yeah, same thing. Now here's a big thing to bring it to the comedy world. I see there are times over all these years I've seen comedians depressed, down on themselves. Oh, why can't I get the break? Why can't I get this? Why can't I get that? First of all, it's like, what break are you talking about? Because success, I realize, is defined by the person, by you. Yeah. So what's the break? What's the break?
Sure. I mean, the success could be. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're around comedians who apply so much pressure on themselves, and I think we try to be a supportive place for them, and we talk to them individually, and at least me personally, I'll say, look, just getting on stage is success.
Yeah.
There are people who have that fear of just getting up on that stage and they never do it. Leaving your job, doing this is success. Mm-hmm. If you can make money on it, awesome. Then you're more successful.
Yeah.
You're still a success, but now you're more successful.
Yeah.
And then if you get to be in a movie, man. That you're more, and there's different levels to it. But so many people are fixated on that really small 1% that really, really, really hits it. But I get it though, because you want to have that hunger, you want to have that drive, and you don't want to be complacent. But it's definitely something that you have to navigate in life, no matter what you do, in terms of look, feeling like, hey, I'm doing something good, but also maintaining the sense of I got to keep growing and do better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I hit a spot, I hit a wall, and I only recently did I break this wall down. That's what changed everything for me. Where I just thought I knew more than I did. I thought I knew it because I've been doing it so long. I said, what can you teach me? What can this guy teach me? What can younger people teach me that I don't know about this sport? This, that, and the other. What can people that don't box, that have never been in the ring before, teach me that I don't know about this sport? Oh, once I pulled down that ego that I had in the ring, and even outside of the ring a bit, once I pulled all that down, I started learning a lot more. I started learning a lot more about what I'm doing wrong, about seeing it in other people. When I see people reacting certain ways, and I know, okay, that's their ego being, that you're poking, that's an ego being poked, Someone asked me, are you afraid of being knocked out? I said, no, man. Be afraid of being knocked out. I was afraid. Yeah, you can't be afraid of being knocked out. First of all, if you think about it too much, you're probably going to get knocked out. So you can't, be afraid of it. Second of all, it's like I went skydiving before my first fight ever. And I said to the guy skydiving, I said, how do you, they strap you, he's strapped to your back or whatever, the guy. We're going up in the plane. One kid quits. I let his pussy.
Someone really quit on the way up?
Yeah, on the way up. You're already up there. Just jump out the fucking plane.
Yeah, you got to come back down sooner or later.
Yeah, and either you're gonna come down as a hero or so. Anyway, I'm talking to the guy. I said, "How do you do this all the time?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, I got a fight coming up or whatever. I just, I'm a little nervous, but you jump out of planes all the time. How do you do this? And he told me something that's always gonna stick with me too. He said, "You got to trust your training." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you spend all this time training to do something. When you go up to actually do it, when you go up to perform, when you go up to make a presentation, whatever the thing is that you've been preparing to do, what's the point in preparation if you don't trust it at the end? If you don't, if you jump out the skydiving out the airplane with me strapped to you and you're like, uh-oh, like shit, like he's thinking, oh shit, like you have to trust yourself, your preparation. You've been preaching forever since I've known you, be organic. That's like, that's huge.
Well, I think that what that has, I love that. I love trust your training, and something that Emilio harps on. We were doing a panel the other day with a bunch of young comics, and he's like, look, I don't want to work with you unless you're borderline nuts. Mm-hmm. Like if you have an extra minute in the day, work on your craft. Like I'm not doing this for people who want to do this as a hobby.
Yeah.
And that's, when you're working at the gym, you got to trust your training, but you got to know that I gave everything I possibly could give to that training.
Yeah.
Now, what is training like for you? Like, tell me what's a normal day for you? What's a training day like? I mean, what time are you waking up? Are you? Are you like Rocky? Are you in the lifting logs in the snow?
No, I don't. I should.
Eggs?
I should. No, I wake up. I rub one out, and then I get ready.
He does, too. He's not kidding.
Hey, I get up.
Better on your knees than the real thing, huh?
No, I get up early. I'm up. I like running early. I like running and take care of myself early because...
Like, what's early?
I get early, 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning.
That's what time you wake up.
Yeah.
That's what time Emilio goes to bed.
Hey, when you're living this life, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Married or not, baby,
But I wake up. I do my running early because when you take care of your exercise early, it burns weight a lot faster.
It does, huh?
They say because when you sleep when you breakfast, you're breaking the fast that you've been fasting. People start this fasting thing. A lot of people want to fast half the day.
Yeah, they do the intermittent.
Yeah, intermittent. But you already do that every day.
That's how. I mean, it's really just how people should live their lives. The fact that we have to implement a diet around not eating throughout 24 hours of a day is pretty sad, but that's a whole nother.
Okay, so Nick, you'll go to bed what time then?
I'll go to bed at sometimes 11:30, 12 o'clock.
Because you'll still go to bed. That's because that's not by no means early.
No,
It's like
no,
6
no,
hours-
and
6 hours of
it's
sleep.
not. But that's because where I'm at right now, I can only train. We can train at night because I work during the day. This is part of being a blue collar boxer, as they call them now. You see a lot of the guys that have all day to do it, and they train all day, and they have their conditioning in the morning, their boxing in the evening, their sparring. Us workers, we got to schedule around our work.
So you're in bed 11:30 midnight. You're waking up at 5:30. Okay. You're working out. What are you doing? You're waking up and
I'm waking up. I'm getting on the road. I'm running at least 30 minutes. Don't do distance. People do distance and kill themselves. Do time. I tell people, if you're working out, focus on time. Distance is like, just if you focus on time, I say like, if you focus on time, you're gonna end up doing a lot more. If you focus on distance, you give yourself a limit. If you tell yourself, I'm running a mile today. Once you get close to the mile, your brain and you start breathing heavier.
Yeah.
I tell people experiment like this. If you tell yourself you're gonna do 5 push-ups, or tell yourself you're gonna do 20, and see how many you end up doing, or tell yourself you're gonna do a massive amount and just do them, and I guarantee you're gonna do more than because I don't like to set. So I do that 30 minutes. I do my running.
smart. I like that. Was that something that was kind of impressed upon you by someone else, influenced you on that, or you came up with that?
It's more of a I put it together over time. I've had a lot of trainers, so I put it together over time, and trainers use it. A lot of boxing training is done by rounds, because we only have 3 minutes to work, and then you got a minute to rest. So you got to be able to utilize those 3 minutes. You get that 30-second bell. The boxer should know from bell to bell how much time he's got left in his head. So a good way to practice that is when you're working out, just do everything by time. And also, again, it doesn't limit you. If you limit yourself, people ask me what I want to be, world champion. Because if I say something else, I'll probably end up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You can't limit yourself, That's
man.
another big thing.
Aim for the stars, land on the sun. Is that what they say?
Yeah, burn up and
Or aim
fade
for
away.
the fucking sun, aim for the moon, land on the stars. I don't know, some fucking saying.
something like that.
Whatever that saying is. Nick, you don't know the saying?
No.
You're the king of sayings,
But
buddy.
it seems out of this world.
Oh, the king of puns.
Nick, what weight class are you in?
I'm light welterweight, I call it. Some divisions call it super lightweight. I don't like being called lightweight, so I use the junior welterweight.
I don't want to be called lightweight. I sure as hell don't want to be called a super lightweight.
No. I joke. But it's junior welter. It's 140. Aaron Pryor, Alexis Arguello,
Nick
class.
Baez. So
Nick Baez.
you wake up, you're running 30 minutes, and what?
Then I get home. I do my push-ups, my sit-ups, 3 rounds each, squats. Have my breakfast.
What's
What do you
breakfast?
eat?
Breakfast
breakfast?
is going to be whole wheat bread, egg whites, broccoli, Swiss cheese, spinach. It's like I tell people this: you don't get rid of stuff. You're gonna kill yourself if you get rid of stuff. You just substitute. So instead of a bacon, egg, and cheese, that's what I get in the morning. But sometimes I'll do turkey bacon, or sometimes I won't do any bacon. But I'll do bacon or meat, egg white, and then Swiss, because they say Swiss is a little better than everything else, whatever, less processed. And then whole wheat, if you can get it, bagel, because then you're not killing yourself. People quit on their diets because they suck. Diets are the worst.
Yeah.
They're fucking
Can't
terrible.
deprive yourself.
You can't,
Especially
and
if
you have
you're.
to eat breakfast.
Yeah, if you. I mean, trust me, I know. I struggle with diets all the time.
Yeah.
I just quit my second go on keto. But that's the thing. It's like you can't deprive yourself. You just gotta it's moderation is just the key.
Yeah, you should never feel full, like Thanksgiving full after you're done eating.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner on a regular Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah.
That you're supposed to eat for fuel.
So then you go to work. What do you do?
And then I go to work, and I work in a welding shop. So at work, it's a lot of moving heavy cylinders and this and that, which is good because it's like a workout.
So you're going to work out.
Yeah. And then after that, after work is done, I go home. I got about 2-3 hours to relax. And then after that, I'm in the gym, usually about 8:15.
Wow, Nick.
And then after that, I'm out of the gym. I don't sleep because once you leave the gym, you're kind of wired
Yeah,
too.
you're out.
You know, so now it's like, and then I'll go home and I'll watch a movie or I'll watch some stand-up comedy. You know, I'll watch.
So you're very much still into stand-up comedy.
Oh, I love stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy. You guys are obviously, like I keep saying, I got introduced to it through the street team, which I found out like Matt Richards. I didn't know but from talking to him, he was also on the street team, which is very cool.
Who's your favorite right now?
I was thinking about this on the way down here, just in case I got asked this. My honest favorite, I'm gonna tell you right, it's Jeff Ross is my favorite. Dave Attell, because I met him at that 50 Hour show.
Yeah.
one of my favorite. He's also, and they
Yeah.
have that bump in mics, which was like,
Yeah.
that was like the greatest.
You
thing
must have
I've
loved
seen.
it. Those two
Oh my
guys.
God, that was the greatest thing. Now there's a love affair going on with Andrew Schultz
Yeah.
at this place, and I was big on him. I'm actually, you can hear me laughing at his first special
That's
because I
funny.
brought a girl to that. I said, "Oh, this guy's good."
Well, the one that he did at our
The
club?
3, yeah.
Oh, he did the 4 clubs. That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. And the girl I brought that, I think I got so drunk that night. I think I cried. It was a first date. I think I cried on the first date. I never asked her. Because you know what happened? You want to hear the story real quick? I brought her to the comedy club, and they have that little parking garage right there. And we park, whatever, we have a good time. And I was still drinking crazy. I don't drink anymore. That goes back to all the sacrifices you got to make if you want to make things happen, you know? But anyway, at the time I was drinking, and I used to get my Long Island iced teas. And those things, my God.
Oh,
man,
Jesus.
Oh, my God.
Especially at the club.
At the club, they don't, it's like, holy shit, Strong Island iced tea. Yeah, I had maybe 1 or 2 of them. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely 2.
I've had,
We make you have 2.
yeah, you know what I should, it was weird because I ordered one and I should have gauged how she reacted to the, to when I ordered a Long Island iced tea because I didn't consider it at the time, but I was like, I drove here. So when I, when I ordered the, you know what I mean? I was like, oh shit. So anyway, I didn't know that the garage wasn't 24 hours. So Andrew Schultz cracking me up. He's making all his funny jokes. I'm like, damn, we're having this great time. I'm like, this is working out. Thanks, Andrew. And everything's working out. And then I leave and the garage is closed. I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, my
I
God.
got nowhere to go. I also had no money. So I was like, oh, fuck. So I ended up having to, I hope she never hears this. She had to pay for us to Uber from here to $100 later.
Holy shit.
And then I tried to talk to her the next day and she never.
Why were you crying?
I don't know. I never figured out. I think I cried because I said, I wish this worked out better or something like that. Like, I didn't mean to do this, you know?
So when was your second date with her?
That
That didn't happen, did it?
No, no, that was the second date.
The Uber ride.
Was there another date after
The
that?
Uber ride was the
Right,
second
no,
date.
There was no date. No, she let me off easy. It was one of those where she answered the text a little bit and then let me off the hook. But never again did she answer a text from me.
Well, yeah, I don't blame her.
Yeah, I know.
That's.
I mean, you could have went back to the club and been like, "Hey guys," pulled Andrew aside. I'm sure Drew would have fucking spotted you some money. I would have said like, "Give Nicky fucking some money."
Yeah, what a
Let him
thing.
go.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was.
But that was a long time ago. If you ask me now, the answer is no.
Yeah, of course. That's
You
why
missed your window.
What do they say? You get rich, you become Republican.
You missed your window, Nick.
So
Yeah.
So you have your first professional fight coming up.
Yeah.
Your debut. When is that?
That's-
Give us some information on that.
Friday, December 6th. I don't know the time yet, but Friday, December 6th, at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia.
Wow, Philly.
Yeah, in Philly and everything.
Fucking A, dude.
Famous arenas. They do a lot of shows there, fights. A lot of ECW was famous for. They used to do a lot of the ECW events. there.
DCW Arena, huh?
Yeah, yep. And and to get to that point, to even get the debut was a lot of work, and which is very important. And like my manager, Corey, and he's also my trainer, and then Ray is the co-trainer. And,
Do you have a promoter too, or
no? Right now we're a free agent, so this fight is under King's Boxing. So thank you to King's Boxing. This fight is under King's Boxing promotion, and then we're a free agent, so we just go from until someone signs us. Obviously, it'd be nicer to, once you get a promoter, you're kind of it's like you have a club to perform at.
Yeah.
You have all right. They'll kind of start bringing in you have a set thing. You're not always bouncing around. So that's the goal, but it starts December 6th. I put on a good show. We put on a good show, and we go.
What does that mean? A good show?
To me, it means let the crowd. You pay money. Let the crowd go home knowing that they got their money's worth, and that they got a.
I mean, if you knock this guy out in 10 seconds, that's not a good show.
I mean, it's a good showing for me. It's good for the future. That great point. But if it happened, if that would be incredible. And I did not going in looking for a knockout. It'll come that way.
be exciting,
Oh yeah.
Like let's say he goes in there and knocks the dude out in 10 seconds. Well, Nick wins. I mean, of course, he just did an impressive thing.
Yeah.
If he goes in there and he's not going to lose, you're not going to lose.
No.
So we're not going to say that, but let's just say things get a little dicey. But if he puts on if he's exciting and he's fucking landing his shit, and there's something that has equal amount of value as well, you know. Dude, it's no different than, you know, it's like any sport. It's like anything in life.
It is.
Dude, don't be boring. Don't be fucking dull. Don't play. You know, go out there and be tactical or win. Listen, you know, I love boxing, and you know, arguably the greatest boxer of all time, and why the hell am I blanking on his name?
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather gets a lot of shit
because he's boring in the ring.
Because he's boring in the ring. But in some weird way, what's perceived as boring, there's beauty in his tactical nature and how you just can't touch him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you take a guy like Roy Jones. You know, or take like Marvin Hagler. People loved Marvin because he had that fucking. He went in there to fucking knock you out. You know, him and her, and every great fighter, you know, I think has to have that great fight. You know, so Hearns and Hagler had that fight.
Yeah,
you know,
Leonard.
and people wanted that Pacquiao and the Mayweather fight to happen so long ago. It happened. When it happened, it was kind of past their primes at that point. But I mean, I guess, not to speak for you, Nick, but I think that's what you're saying. Like, put a good fucking showing on. Be exciting. Be electric. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
because this is like a showcase. It's a 4-rounder, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So though it's your first pro fight and you want to fucking win, you want to put on. You gotta stick out.
Yeah, and sticking out. You know, I have confidence in my abilities as a boxer. I have a lot of confidence. That's why I'm still doing this. You know, so I know that being organic and being myself, I'm gonna stick out because I have the speed. I'm a combination puncher. So you'll see bop bop bop. You know, it's not bop bop. It's not one at a time. And these things, it's like Andre Ward, great boxer, retired undefeated. He's announces for ESPN now, Olympian. I didn't appreciate guys like Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward when I was younger coming up. I appreciated more the Roberto Durans or the Haglers.
Yeah, of course.
You know, those guys. You know. Now when I try to look at the best fighters of all time, who you know, when you put the best fighters and you look at the criteria, all right, hit and doesn't get hit, you can check Floyd Mayweather off. You know, who lands clean, effective punches, you can check Floyd Mayweather off. Defense, Floyd Mayweather. You know, picking his spots, timing, distance, all these little things you have to account for. Someone like you, if you and Nick were in the ring, Nick is a little shorter. So how do you? That doesn't mean Nick can't get to you and lay you out. It just means that you now have to utilize what you have. And sometimes it looks
Nick would
boring.
kill me with his puns.
The pun lines. The punch lines.
There you go, the pun lines.
But anyway, it's a...
big pun hit you with the big guns.
Oh, shit. That's a whole nother... You're a rapper. Yeah, you still rapping?
Man, did this just get derailed?
What I'm enjoying about this podcast is I think it's awesome that with this podcast, I think what I hope it's showing is how you can draw parallels with anything. And I love being able to connect the dots. Here we are, we're talking to a boxer, and he's talking about the approach to boxing in a very similar manner as to how comedians would approach comedy. We're talking about preparation. We're talking about picking your spots, knowing the audience, knowing your opponent. All that stuff kind of goes line to line. And there's another factor here where I think people can draw a lot of inspiration in you, Nick. And I don't know if you're comfortable or okay with talking about this, but like, are you okay with like letting people know your age, even though I just brought it up?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 30 years old.
Yeah.
Now, I know nothing about when a fighter is supposed to, of anything. I don't know when the benchmark is of their first fight. But when I hear you're 30 and you're having your first pro fight, I think, well, you must be a little on the older side.
Yeah.
Are you on the older side as a person about to have his debut professional fight? Because I think of boxers as starting out in their pro fights when they're 18.
It's a young man's sport, as they say. Am I older to be going to having my debut? Sure. Yeah. You know, yeah. Physically, mentally, I'm in the perfect space to be having my debut. I look back now, I think if I was starting a stable, I wouldn't get guys under 25, 24 because you're not mentally ready for it, I don't think.
Sometimes you're not always, you can't follow someone else's path. And sometimes you're not ready for something, even if it's presented to you, you're not ready for it. And I think DDP said that.
Diamond Dallas Page?
Yeah, Diamond Dallas Page, because he got in the game way late.
That's right, he's one of those guys.
If he would have got in... If he would have got into professional wrestling when he was 26 years old, he would not be who he is today. he needed to become who he was before he became who he was.
You can't be organic. How could I be
Yeah.
organic?
I love how you stuck with the organic thing.
How could I be organic if I didn't even know myself? Somebody told me, her name is Audrey. I like to give people name drops, so let them hear this. Her name is Audrey. She told me once.
We need all the help we
She
can get.
she said, Nick, nobody's gonna believe you until you believe yourself. I was like, fuck. And then it started hitting me. I didn't believe myself. All those years I'm boxing. To again bring it back to the comedians, that kind of tear in the beer kind of comedians, when you're seeing them, and I'm like, why don't you? But while you're crying in your beer, and like while I was crying in my beer, watching ESPN, watching guys that I've been in the ring with, I train with, and I'm watching them now on ESPN, and I'm watching them do these things, and I'm turning to my friends saying, I could beat that guy, man. Why isn't that me? Yeah, smoking and drinking. Because I wasn't putting in the work. While you're crying in your beer, that comedian, the other dude or woman is out there writing, perfecting her craft, bombing. Bombing is a big fucking part of success. What the guy from Honda, the guy who I forget his name, who the Honda car says 99% of success is failure. So it's like, but you can't get too down on yourself. You can never get too down or too high. And that's the only stuff I've learned recently.
It took Thomas Edison 2,000 tries to get the light bulb. And when they asked him, hey, 2,000 tries, that's kind of disappointing. As no, I just learned 2,000 different ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah, listen,
Exactly.
I think in our heart of hearts, sure. I mean, everyone would love to hit it when they're 19, 20 years old. But I'm a huge proponent of, you cannot replace, when you have to struggle and when you have to fight and when you get somewhere, and look, Ankara, my wife, you remember Ankara, of course.
Oh, yes, Ankara.
She'll get frustrated with me because she thinks I sometimes will signify time with age and all that. Because every time I'll say, I like to kind of be aware of what's going on at that particular time in my life, and I like kind of use age as most people do. I think it's human nature. It's a measuring stick,
yeah.
but I don't really do it. But it's not really done in a way. It's more so of almost just trying to be present and aware of where you are in time, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I think when things take a little longer and things start to happen a little later in life, it's like throwing gas on a fire, because you've worked so hard to get there, and to your point, you've been prepared. The preparation is there. I remember when I was a younger person, and, as much as I try to hide it, I would be nervous or anxious for whether it was a big, if I had a meeting or I had a something, and everything was very rehearsed. I remember like going on job interviews or having meeting with people when I was like in the quote unquote corporate world. I would have to like rehearse it, look in the mirror and pump myself up and psych myself. I'd have to get myself in that mental state. Now I don't do any of that shit. Because I'm like, I don't need to do that stuff, like.
You trust your training.
I trust it. I love what you just said, Nick.
Yeah.
So again, back to you, and go to the comics. When I talk to comics, I say, think of any comedian that has made it when they're 20, 21 years old. There's a lull.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. They go through shit.
Yes.
They're not really ready. Jim Carrey said this. Jim Carrey said if he hit it when he was 21, he probably would have killed himself. He didn't get in living color until he was like in his, I think, about 30 years old. He got in living color, maybe 29, 30, 31. Then he really hit it in mid-30s. It sounds like kind of a cliche thing to say, but it's true. So when I think of you going in the ring, and I don't know who you're fighting or what the deal is, you're going in there with just... the fact you're going in there fighting for, I think, a lot. There's a lot more that you're kind of bringing into the ring than someone who's 20 years old.
Yeah, that's
because a 20-year-old might get hit in the head, get fucking hit in the face, and he's not thinking like what you just thought. He's not going. He might be like, oh my god, that hasn't happened before.
Yeah. I've never been rocked before. I never felt that shock in the legs.
You're getting fucking hit in the face, and you're like, fuck, I gotta go and welve every fucking day. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And then you're taking it in stride. You're a little more composed. Is that what it's called? Welve. You're going to welve. You're welding, right?
Weld.
Oh, weld. What did I say? Welve.
Weld. Yeah, you made up a word.
Welding.
Did you just get hit in the head?
That's how I'm gonna be talking soon. Yeah,
But anyway, so yeah, I think that's very cool. So again, I think a lot of any comedian who might be listening to this, or anyone who could be listening to this, it really does draw. You can draw this from any walk of life, from whatever it is that you're doing, and it's again, I think it's very cool, that you're doing this, and you're you're doing it at a time, and you don't even think of it either. When I asked you about your age, you were kind of like, I'm not really. You're like, I don't even know what it's like. You don't even see that.
No, I don't. Probably because I was stunted. You know, when you start smoking and drinking young, they say you get stunted. But mostly because physically, I've been working out. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel 30. And also, it's like who's that measuring stick was created somewhere along, you know what I mean, along the line of. Now I get it. Granted, there are physical things. There are physical that you can't
When
make
people
up,
were
you know?
dying at age 50, 30 was old.
That's what I mean.
You
Like
know?
where my shop today, I see 90-year-old. This is dead serious. 90-year-old men still pushing, telling me that their kids are telling them to retire. I say why? Because their kids retired, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like people are living and doing extraordinary things later on in life. People aren't even getting married till later on. There was some you said, Emilio, on one of the episodes I heard. Where you were talking about, and when I met you, you had to, you were, I think you were my age, I guess not, but the people around you were doing the same thing. You were in that path. You were on the path. Where you were from. It was like everybody almost like set in their ways. You're on that path. It was a school, whatever, work, marriage, whatever the hell the path is, that straight path. You strayed away from it because you want to do your own thing, and it was tough. It was very hard. He almost fired me once. that's how tough and hard it was. But over time, even though all your friends, I'm sure you were seeing them, and there were times where you were like, "Fuck, I shouldn't be doing this shit." Like, oh my god.
Well, you can't
you can't compare yourself. Either.
You can't scoreboard watch either. You can't keep track of the score. Like, it's like counting your chips at the poker table, or again, like worrying about like the fucking scoreboard. I really do believe that, good things really happen when you just have your head down and you're fucking grinding and you're working, and things just start to happen. If you're concerned about everything else that's going on around you, you're just doing yourself a grave injustice.
If Michael Jordan was concerned about everything else around him, he wouldn't be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
They say he was the only guy that almost every shot he took, there were flash bulbs in his face. People forget that he was shooting people flashing things in his eyes. If he was focused on everything else, then he would have never been Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and again, something like age, again, it doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter, but there is a sense of like, hey, listen, if you're working hard and you're trying to get something, age does not matter a bit. But if you're one of these people that just kind of sits back and hopes, like you said, when am I going to catch my break?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I learned.
You're 39 years old. Your break ain't coming.
I think that's what I was trying to get at. It's like and again, I could speak for me personally. It's like it's just having that sense of urgency. Okay, this is going on now. This is where I got to go. Yeah. This is where I got to go. Not letting it define you, but using it towards your advantage. And I think that's the key in anything. When you look at stuff, you got to think to yourself. And look, maybe you got to think to yourself, how can I use this to benefit what I'm trying to, where I'm trying to go? Okay. So again, you take someone who's a 30-year-old boxer, and you are not an old man by any stretch. In fact, as an athlete, you are in your prime. So again, I can make the argument as a 30-year-old boxer, hey, you might fucking go nuts in the next 3 years. Who knows? You might have an opportunity to become champ in the next 3 years. Yeah. Whereas someone who's 22 is just developing still, and they're gonna get the shit kicked out of them for 6-7 years. You know what I mean?
And that's where they go. Some of these guys are done. If you compare my age, Canelo I'm like his age, right? Those guys, those guys are my age. A lot of these champions. They'll be done soon. You know what I mean? Like I'm just getting started. A lot of these guys will be done soon. I like the age of the measuring stick. I think, like you said, for a sense of urgency and to use it to inspire and push you. Yeah. But if you use it to bring you down, people my age at 30 years old, people are saying, "Oh, I'm old. I feel old." I say, you feel old at 30.
Yeah.
You got how are you gonna feel at 50, 60, 70, 80? That's not a mentality.
It's like, what are we doing here?
Then what's the point?
What happens at 50? It's over. It's done.
That's what I'm saying.
I refuse to accept nor believe that.
That doesn't make any sense.
I have like that's why when we were saying like when you're different, when you go outside the box, when you don't do what everyone else is doing, it's. I always said to myself, yeah, I'm going to move to New York, try to make it as a comic. I did that when I was like 27 years old, and everyone I knew, all my friends from back home, they already had jobs, houses, wives, babies. They're already there. I'm starting from scratch in one of the hardest cities to live in, okay? That was 10 years ago. I'm still struggling, okay? But guess what? All my friends, they have now been miserable for 15 years.
Yeah.
In the struggle,
Doing
man.
the same exact goddamn
And
thing.
you know what, dude? There's nothing wrong with struggle. Struggle is a good thing. You know, complacency and comfort and security. Look, we all want to be secure, but that can lead to destruction.
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
struggle, continuous to fight.
Marvin Hagler,
You know what I
like you
mean?
said, the famous quote. You brought Marvin Hagler. I love this quote. It's very hard to get up and run at 5 a.m. in the morning, when suddenly you're sleeping in silk pajamas.
Yeah.
And what that means is it's not about, because it's fucking easy, not easy, but I'm hungry right now. Ugh. But ask me in 2 years when I become champion, when I make it. Ask me, see if I still got that hunger. That's where it matters.
Yeah.
It's that's sustaining it. Like how do you keep that drive?
Well, and to speak to Nick too, because Nick and Nick, we're all close, and
Yeah.
we're around each other a lot, and I know Nick struggles. I hope you're okay with me saying this. You struggle with what your place is and everything, and like you said, you're struggling. It's a struggle, right? Mm-hmm. You can fucking go back to Pittsburgh probably next week and get a nice job and be cushy and and be just fine. But who the fuck wants that?
I don't want to do anything with that.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't want anything.
Who the hell wants that?
That's why I'm here. That's why I still struggle.
Yeah, and I
It's
got news for you, dude. If something did happen where you thought you were actually getting what you really wanted, it still ain't going to be enough.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
It's still not going to be enough.
Yeah.
And it just isn't. So, but it's not going to be enough because of any sort of greed or any sort of selfish sort of mentality of like, I need it. It's just, if you're wired, I generally believe that when you said getting out of the box, when you decide to do something different, when you're taking a left and everybody takes a right, then you're addicted to the difference, to just being different.
Yeah.
That's why I can't do it like a 9 to 5, 5 days a week, same thing day after day. No, thank you. I can't do that. Which reminds me, I'm not going to come in tomorrow.
That's how you do it. That's how you set it up.
No, I'm kidding.
Wait, I have to now. I'm not gonna put you on the spot. I know,
Yeah,
we gotta go. We gotta go.
soon, but-
And this is something for anybody listening. Something I had to do is just speaking from personal experience. I had to, and people might recognize these type of words and whatnot, but I had to take a self inventory, as they say.
I love it.
All right, you got to take, and self inventory is being completely honest with yourself. Are you putting in the work? That's the question that everybody thinks they work harder than the next guy. Oh my God, I should be paid much more. Oh my gosh, I gotta be paid. I should be paid so much. I should be here. I should be there. You should be where you are.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You have to, am I working as hard as the next guy? Am I taking and recognizing every opportunity that I'm getting? Also, am I getting too big for my britches? How many times if you have something, or if you're writing, and you want to, and you're writing stuff, are you sending out your work everywhere, every single day, dedicating time to sending out your work? Boom, 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 boom. Something's got to hit. That's what happened to me in this boxing thing. I just never gave up, and everything kind of worked for me. Now I'm debuting in Philadelphia, Rocky, Philadelphia, ECW Arena, December 6th.
Well,
I get to see all that stuff. I'm here with you guys. This is like, what the fuck? It all works when you work it. Oh, that's some.
Well, you know what you did, Nick, though? You also you read the signs.
Mm-hmm.
You said boxing like kind of led you.
Yeah.
You're in Albany, there's this gym down the street. Like every kind of turn you went, it kind of led you to boxing.
Yeah.
So I think there are a few things, we all have, there are signs where I think we are always there is a wave that generally will take people in certain directions. And you can either refuse that wave, or you can try to say, okay, maybe I need to go this route, because at every turn, this is where I'm going. Like for me, I always try to get away from sales. But every bend I try to be an actor, right? I took an acting class. We put on a production. Next thing you know, I was producing the fucking thing and like getting the venues. And I was like, how did I end up here? I don't want to do this. I want to just be an actor. But no, whatever it was, my personality led me to that. So I said, fuck it. This is where I'm supposed to go. Let's see where it goes, right? And we all have an internal clock, and we all have a certain instinct. Listen, how many times you go to bed and you have to wake up early in the morning, and you'll wake up without the alarm because you're like, I have to wake up. So like something just wakes you up. You just wake up anyway, right? So I think a lot of times people, they're not listening to their bodies. They're not listening to themselves.
Yeah.
They don't, and it polarizes them to the point where they just can't move. And next thing you know, they've stopped listening to their minds, their bodies, their instincts, and then they're in a fucking rut. And then they don't know how to get out of it. And that, so again, something that you're saying, it's like, you know, you got to fucking just, you got to get up, you got to grind, you got to go, you got to work, you got to work, you got to work. That all comes from listening to yourself.
Yeah, that's
taking
something
inventory.
I just learned. Taking inventory. I said I know I reached a certain level of enlightenment when I finally realized what Shia LaBeouf meant by "do it." You know, when he's made that video, "Do it." I say, if you don't understand that video, then you haven't reached it yet. Because I get it now. What he's saying, it's like, just do it, just do it. That was my biggest thing. I learned and got more further in my boxing career, and I get more great news, and the best things happen to me when I go to the gym on days I don't feel like going.
Without a doubt.
That is the days that everything for some reason always works out, where I'll get a text from you that says, hey, you know, whatever, something works out every time I don't want to do something or go to the gym, because nobody wants to do, you don't want to sit down and write. Writing is tough. Writing is a bitch. Writing, you can sit there for an hour and not think of a thing. But you gotta do it. Yeah, you gotta do it.
And dude, we're all dealing with human beings. Everyone is infallible. Everyone is thinking of the same. Everyone has the same emotions that we have.
Yeah, it's
you know. So
look at the boxers in the room. Everybody's afraid.
Yeah,
everybody's got fear.
Yeah,
they're afraid. That's the difference. You got to channel it.
Yeah. So when you're scared of something that is feeling the same shit that you're feeling. You know.
You create monsters in your head.
Yeah. You create this. Yeah. You. Exactly.
It's all you do. There's so many times that, for being 30, here's an interesting part of it, and then I'll wrap it up. I forget that I'm 30, right? We were talking, so I go to a gym, and they're like, oh, you're lined up to spar so-and-so or fight so-and-so. Or you might, whoever, whatever. And I look at these kids, and I say, oh, shit, I'm 30 years old. These guys, they look like kids. So it's like I create these monsters, so when people are like, yeah, but you're 30. To me, I'm like, it's like I'm fighting these kids. It's not as threatening as I thought. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but you create, in my head, you create this monster. The guy across the ring from you always looks bigger than you, always looks more cut than you, always looks meaner than you. That's but that's the mindset where you're worried about everybody else. That goes like you said. But when you're just internal and worried about what you're going to do, nothing else matters. And you're not out to prove anything.
Yeah.
And now with social media, I think we put even more fear in our head because everything on social media looks awesome. Everything looks great. Yeah. Everyone's life is wonderful, and that just ain't the truth.
It's not at all. You could make people thought I was boxing when I was drinking my mind off. I was getting DUIs, and people thought I was boxing. You know what I'm saying? So that's it took me to get to a certain point that I'm trying to preach to people so they don't get to that point, maybe, or if they're at that point, that you ain't gonna fix it. You ain't going to change ever, and you're going to be stuck in the same exact spot, doing the same shit, making the same jokes. People are going to say, damn, you did that joke 5 years ago. If you don't change.
Your profile picture's you on stage. Like, we get it. You're a comic. We get it. But
yeah.
Are you though?
Yeah.
Your profile picture says you are.
I told my cousin, he said, how'd you go pro at 30? I said, because if I told you guys I'm an amateur boxer still, then it's really like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Because there's that sense of urgency, like you said, And granted, I have the confidence and all that shit that I can do it. But it's that sense of urgency. Yeah. And it's all that stuff. And just also the fact of just doing it.
Like Shia LaBeouf said.
Just like Shia LaBeouf said, just do it. You're never going to do it.
That's got to be the perfect way to end an episode, quoting Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, and like, it's just how many times, it's like, and then how many times do people keep waiting and waiting? They're like, I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it next year. And then one day you're going to wake up and you really might be too old.
Yeah.
You really will be one day. You might be 70. And then guess what? Then
January.
You are too old to box.
Guys, I'm gonna be.
January 1st is not a designated day for anything.
No.
Diets don't start on Monday. They start whenever you start.
Yeah. There are so many things that I did that I've done in the past. At the time, I thought I was like old, and I look back and I was like, man, I was young when I did that. Yeah. Like, fuck.
Guys, people have been telling me I was too old for boxing since I was 22.
I know. It's,
you know what I mean?
madness.
Like, yeah, that's another big thing that I learned also. Someone had told me, she said, people always think they're older than they are. Like, people have been telling me I was 22, 19 even. Some guy says to me in the gym, and this is the problem. That's a whole nother thing. So he says to me, I think I was 23 at the time. I said, oh, yeah, I want to do that. Oh, no, you're too old. I said, fuck me. At 23. So it's the same thing. It's like, you don't, first of all, I was the 15-year-old looking at the 30-year-olds at one point saying, damn, that guy should probably quit. So now, and people kept telling me, oh, you have time. You have time. You don't got time for shit. You don't have time. That's what I realized. You have the time, but it's what you do with that time.
Time's made up.
Time is made up from
100%.
From 20 to 29. If I did what I'm doing now,
100%.
We'd be doing this off my yacht somewhere.
100%, man.
But it's what I did with my time, and it wasn't towards my goal. If you're doing shit that's not towards, like you said, if you're doing stuff that's not towards your goal.
But now you're ready.
But now I'm ready.
But now you're ready. When you step into those ropes,
December 6th.
December 6th, baby.
In Philadelphia,
PA.
In Philadelphia, PA. Shout out to Philadelphia.
New York, Nick.
New York, Nick.
No
New York,
joke,
Nick.
Baez.
New York, Nick Baez.
Yeah,
He ain't no
yeah.
joke.
Nick, no joke.
December
AKA
6th, Philadelphia.
That's
Let's go down.
That's got to be your name, Nick. New York, Nick. No joke, Baez.
I like that. New York, Nick, AKA no joke, Nick Baez, AKA check out the New York Comedy Club when you're in New York City or anywhere else in the world because these guys are just keep
listen.
expanding.
I mean, December 6th. That's a Saturday.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday in
night.
Philly.
In Philly. If you cannot make it,
I mean, dude. I mean, look. I don't want to be like I'm going but I'm gonna do everything I can to make that fucking
I already planned
We
on going
go.
to the last one.
We
yeah.
go.
hey, if you're Pittsburgh, PA, SMPA.
And then afterwards, we'll go party at the Philly Comedy Club,
And
baby,
that's
in
it.
Infusion.
And I'll just
We'd be allowed to go out after you defeat that chump you're fighting.
Yeah, we'll go out. I'll get back.
Is it
I'll
weird,
I'll
though,
go
that
into
you're-
a
is it-
downward
You
spiral.
can't have any. You can't have any. No Long Island iced teas though. Those garages in Philly ain't no
you
joke
guys gave
either.
my ticket to Palookaville. With the fucking. That's another thing. When Marlon Brando. Oh, I could have been somebody. Could have been a contender. Me and my dad always talk about that. I said, Dad, I ain't ready for Palookaville yet. That I'll know when I got my ticket. I'm gonna punch my own ticket to Palookaville. Jesus,
all right, we got to go. Nick, thanks for coming in. December 6th, Philadelphia, PA. We'll let you know how to get tickets. It's going to be a party.
Nick, no joke, Baez, baby.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to This Is Not a Green Room. We are available wherever you get your podcasts, including Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and iTunes, as well as the Laughable app. And wherever you're listening to us, please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating so that other people can find us and love us too. You can find us online at Not a Green Room on Instagram and Twitter, and you can check out the club at New York Comedy on Twitter and NY Comedy Club on Facebook and Instagram.